Oh my goodness, I just got caught up in The Facts of Life. The Facts of Life. I used to love that show. The Facts of Life. What? Are you serious?
My bad.
I just...
Suddenly you're finding out the facts of life are all about
What? Well, Lisa, remember you were talking about pivoting. Hey, my urbanites, guess what? You have entered into the Urban Suite with Dr. Lisa LaCon. This has been an awesome year for me since we launched Urban Tools for Change Network, and I could not have done it without you.
Told you need me.
Thank you for everything that you have done, your prayers, your support, all of that.
Anything for you.
And I still have a ways to go, you guys. You guided me. You told me this is what you need to do. Very practical tips. She didn't say, well, do you have this? Do you have that? Do you need this? Do you have that? She's like, oh, you can do it. You got this.
Thank you so much for acknowledging that. That's like so nice.
The stuff that they were saying is so relevant. It's so on point. They're so knowledgeable. So down to earth. Very practical tips.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I just appreciate you all.
Thank you.
Shout out, thank you for your support also.
But it's my pleasure.
Let me slow down because I'm so excited. But he's always there behind the curtain. Always there behind the curtain. So I just want to say thank you so very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, I want to flip the script. Like, how did that happen?
How did that happen? Where's the time go?
I want to flip the script. No. That is very scary to me.
That was scary.
Smack dab in the middle of the urban community. Put that in your mental note. So you can get a picture in your head. You don't know what they're thinking. And it's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
More than enough.
You sure, bro?
You hear it? Did you hear me?
Say that again. I don't think I heard you.
I heard you.
You're going to have more than enough peace when you walk in being me.
Tell me you're sure about this.
The ABCs of life.
The facts of life. The facts of life.
Welcome to the Urban Suite with Dr. Lisa LaCon. You're not dreaming. It is not Tuesday. It is Monday. This is our special edition, a political, I guess you could say, episode, because tomorrow people are voting. Hopefully you all will be voting. So anyway, we'll be right back to talk about this plus more in the Urban Suite. You are entering the Urban Suite with Dr. Lisa LaCon. Let's talk about urban issues plaguing our community. Let's talk about mental health. Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about urban issues plaguing our community with Dr.
Lisa LaCon.
Oh my goodness. It trips me up too that it's not Tuesday, but it's Monday. So guess what? We have a wonderful special guest today in the Urban Suite. But what I want to talk to you all about also is, do you realize that the politicians that you elect that set policy in a sense can somewhat determine your mental health condition? And we're going to talk about that a little later as well, how the two can, relate, especially in the urban community. Because if you have policies that adversely affect your mental health, you may think, well, how, Lisa? How can a policy adversely affect my mental health? I'm going to show you and demonstrate to you how that possibly can be. But tonight we have a special guest, James Ward. He is the city council candidate running for, what ward is he? The South Ward. The South Ward in Orange, New Jersey. So we'll be right back after these messages.
If you have a comment, question, or concern you want us to discuss on the show, leave a voice message on the Urban Tools for Change hotline.
I have some amazing news for you.
The number is 973-262-4363.
Yeah, this is me.
That's 973-262-4363. Call us anytime, day or night.
It's worth looking into, isn't it?
We want to hear from you.
So this is our missing person segment. Every week I have to highlight someone who is missing, whether they're an older gentleman, a young girl, a boy, someone in the Black community. So tonight I'm going to highlight someone from New Jersey, from Neptune, New Jersey. And her name is Ariana Stevenson. Ariana Stevenson, she's 16 years old. She's been missing since Sunday, May the 1st. And she's possibly headed to the Asbury Park area. She was last seen in Neptune Township on Sunday, May 1st, 2022. Police said Stevenson was possibly headed to Asbury Park area. Anyone with information regarding Ariana's location is asked to contact Detective Louis Barotti at area code 732-988-8000, extension 418, or you can contact the Black and Missing Foundation Incorporated at bamfi.org or BAMFI at 877-97-BAMFI. Let's bring Ariana home. Now we have good news. Where's my bell? Yes, another Ariana Michelle Anderson. I highlighted Ariana Michelle Anderson last week. She was missing from Columbus, Ohio. I did my shout out. I said, you Ohioans, wake up, wake up. And she has been found safe. Thank God. Ariana Michelle Anderson is safe. Thank God. So that's why I ask you all to please share this information. Oftentimes I share on my TikTok page, I share on my Facebook pages, and I need you all to do your due diligence and share as well. Thank you so very much. All right. So listen, we are sponsored by Blessed Ministries Incorporated. The Urban Suite is sponsored by Blessed Ministries Incorporated. We are the premier workforce development agency in the state of New Jersey. and we work with various populations to get them employed, you guys. We work with those under the supervision of parole. We work with adults with disabilities. We work with youth with disabilities, like teens with disabilities. We work with those impacted by opioids in the state of New Jersey, as well as those that are receiving like food stamps and things of that nature. We do put people to work. Coming out the gate, what would you like to?
I'm coming out of the gate hot.
No, it looks like I'm dressed for the rodeo, but I'm not.
I'm a cowboy.
You never know, right? All right.
You never know. Maybe you'll even enjoy yourself.
You never know what's hiding under the hard shell of a clam.
Oh, yes. So normally in the Black community, we ask, where your people from?
Where did she come from?
She's a comedian.
In your opinion, how did that happen?
Y'all want to know my honest opinion?
Do you really want my opinion?
Election time is upon us. So why do you think people choose the same candidates over and over, but they want something different? Like, I don't understand that mentality.
Every vote counts.
You're not gonna vote. Don't complain. Period.
Nobody likes hanging out with people who complain all the time.
You know, basically the information that you get here is priceless. It really is.
The thing about freedom is it's cheap, but it's priceless at the same time. Ask someone that doesn't have it.
Wake up. The time for change is now.
So thank you so very much for enlightening me. And I'm sure some of my urbanites, those are my guests, my urbanites, as you can tell when I say urbanites. They're
I like that.
fantastic. Yes, the urbanites. We rock and roll. Yes.
You gotta get a shirt. Urbanites.
Yes, welcome back, my urbanites. So listen, tonight we have a guest. Well, we actually taped it over the weekend, so it's not really live. So we're going to show it right now. But if you have any comments, questions, things of that nature, please do so. Please use the chat. Unfortunately, James Ward will not be able to answer personally, but based on what he said, we can pretty much interpret for you in a sense. So without further ado, we are going to bring up James Ward, the interview that took place prior to, and he is running for City Council of South Ward.
Multifamily homes, 2 historic districts with a commercial corridor and a light industrial legacy, a rich character and a history in this. This is a place that we can all call home, but we need to make this place better, more secure, so that we can have a brighter future. If elected, I plan on being the same well-educated, compassionate family man who's personally invested in the success of our combined communities. I've learned our history, and I see our great possibilities for the future. And I seek to meet the needs of citizens through good planning, balanced budgeting, and a broad deployment of technology to get our city working smarter for the people of Orange.
Now, it's
Where are you really from?
It's
I'm
interesting.
African American.
Pause this right here.
My parents.
It's interesting because the South Ward, I believe, is very affluent. They have a very affluent section in the South Ward. They call it the Seven Oaks community. And basically, the Seven Oaks community, the houses are very beautiful, 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 beautiful. And you clearly see the wealth gap if you travel from, say, for instance, the South Ward to the North Ward. Like, there's the disparity. It is huge. I actually, when I first caught wind of Seven Oaks, you know what I call it, Curtis?
What is that? What do you call it?
I call it the ascot community.
Wow.
Because everyone seems like they should be wearing ascots.
Well, I'm sure they see some, it's a very affluent area, and I mean he gets into all the details of it, so maybe we should just let him continue a little bit.
Continue.
Are from the South and the Northeast. I grew up across the South. I was born in Texas. I spent a lot of time in Washington, D.C., where my father lives, and I primarily spent my school time with my mom in South Florida. I grew up in a small town called El Portal, Florida. It's a municipality inside of Miami-Dade County.
Okay. And when did you move to Orange?
So I moved to the Northeast for college. I went to Pratt Institute for college. I'm an architect by training, and I moved to Orange in November of 2018.
Okay. And your personal background, what do you do for a living, and do you have a family that lives here in Orange?
So I'm a father of two. I have a 5-year-old son and a 3-year-old daughter. My wife, who also lives here as well. My professional background, like I said, I went to school for architecture, but I work in construction. I've worked on about $16 billion, it's a billion with a B, worth of work in New York City. Everything from the World Trade Center to Hudson Yards to Manhattan West. I've had a pretty illustrious career building places and changing the skyline of New York City.
Okay. And what ward are you running for again? What ward?
So I'm running for the South Ward representative.
Okay. And what do you see as some of the main concerns of the South Ward?
So the concerns of the South Ward are not any different from the concerns of our entire city. I've been an advocate for the issues of the people that have come to me, and those people have been everywhere from my neighborhood in Seven Oaks to the neighborhood that's just to the south of us, the Valley Historic District, which is also now a little bit known as the Arts District. We have many of the same issues as the North, South, East, and West. This is a very small town. There's a problem with speeding. There's a problem with potholes. There's a problem with how the kids get in and out of school to make that safe. There's problems with really the people that live on the borders, the borders that touch South Orange, Bloomfield, East Orange, and just a little bit of Newark. They tend to get left behind when it's garbage pickup to the snowplow. The places that are in our periphery, they often get left behind. But really, I would say that our biggest issue is inadequate resources for what we're paying for in taxes. Our city council budget's about $90 million, which sounds like it's proportional, but really we're almost outspending our neighbors to the north, south, east, and west. I have some figures that I can go over really quick.
Now, wait a minute. Is that $90 million dollar budget, is that just for the South Ward, or is that for the whole city?
It's for the whole city. So
Okay.
the wards are really just about representation. When you talk about budgets,
That's the whole city.
It's the entire city. So the city is 2.2 square miles, about 35,000 residents. And when we take our municipal budget that was from 2020, this is my numbers that I was working with in the beginning, $75 million budget is what it was accounted for. By the end of 2020, it was closer to about 85 or 89 million. But if we break that down into a ratio, that's $1 to 2.6 persons. East Orange is $1 to 2.38 persons. West Orange is $1 to 1.3 persons. And then in South Orange, it's $1 to 2.2 persons. And again, we're comparing that to $1 to 2.46 persons. East Orange is probably our best comparable in terms of demographics. And that city's budget is 152 million, and they're twice our size of 64,000 population. When you see those numbers and you see that ratio, you really see that we're not getting what we're paying for being a city that is our size with this size budget. We have just a lot of inefficiencies, and that's why I talk about using technology to solve a lot of our problems. There's a basic problem with just getting a permit in city. There's problems with asking for information. I've done multiple open records requests, and oftentimes, after having conversations with the clerk's office, the people who handle these things, they're like, "This is not a hard thing to do, but if we needed to do this, say for the Supreme Court or the Senate, you could get an open records request pretty quickly because they have systems that you can just type into and pull out the data. We're having to do these things manually, which are taking up a lot of man hours, and we're just not servicing our people to the best ability.
So, do you think maybe the city hasn't properly digitized itself for the 21st century yet?
Yes, most definitely yes. From my own perspective, from firsthand accounts of people that work in the city, and just you can walk in there and see that we're operating the city like it's 40, 50 years ago. And
I think that was the place that you wanted to stop, and I think we're going to take a break too. But I think you had a comment about digitizing for the future.
Right. My question is, what are they using typewriters like with the whiteout and the,
Yeah.
because it really makes no sense, because this also happens when it comes to the public school system in the urban community. The technology is so outdated. The textbooks are so outdated. I'm like, why is this always happening in the urban community? They have a $90 million budget for 2.2 square miles, 35,000 residents. Out of the 35,000 residents, I believe maybe a third or so are 18 and younger. But, it's really interesting. Also, their demographics is interesting. On their website, they have the census from 2010, and it said that the African Black population back then was approximately maybe 71, 72%, like somewhere around that area. Now, according to the United States Census Bureau, 2020, it's only 66% Black. So there's been a drop in 5% Blacks. However, what population do you think has increased the most?
Well, it's an affluent area, like you already mentioned, so I can just imagine it might be a little bit considered to be gentrified by the New Yorkers that come here that work in New York.
No.
No?
No.
Who is it?
Put on your thinking cap.
I don't want to, disparage anybody or anything. I don't want to make any guesses like that. So
what?
You tell me.
The Hispanic Latino community has increased by like 7%.
Okay.
The white community, they're still holding on to their 13%. Okay. The 3,500 that were there 10 years ago are still there today. So they not letting go. But my question is, where and why is there such a dip in the African American Black community in Orange? I don't know.
Well, maybe when we get James back on, or somebody that represents the community, we'll be able to find out why. But actually, this is actually a good time to bring up another local story. We're going to be switching gears a little bit, but this is something that's near and dear to your heart, I believe.
Oh my gosh, yes. Oh, I wanted to cry when I saw this. Former East Orange resident Jahan Dotson drafted in the first round by Washington. Yes.
And that means a lot to you because you're from Washington, D.C.
Yes, born and raised in Washington, D.C. That's my team, the Washington Commanders, Washington football team, and then Washington Redskins. But now we are the Commanders. Okay. And yes, I'm so excited. That is so great. Oh, my goodness. That is fantastic. You want me to read this?
This the story. Like, what does it say? Who are those people there with him?
So on April 28th, former Penn State wide receiver Jahan Dotson was drafted in the first round of the NFL draft by the Washington Commanders. He finished his collegiate career with 183 receptions, 2,757 yards, and 25 touchdown receptions. The former East Orange native is a graduate of Nazareth High School in Pennsylvania, but played a season at the Petty School in New Jersey. He's pictured with Dotson after his college choice in 2017. This is the 2017 picture, but he originally committed to UCLA. The 5'11", 184-pound speedster is flanked by his parents, Robin Bigelow Dotson and Al Dotson, both 1985 graduates of East Orange High School. That is phenomenal.
All right. That's great. That's great.
Yes.
So we want to send congratulations out to him. And we're going to continue with the interview with James Ward right after we come back from another little break.
Absolutely. Another wonderful show tonight with a very special guest.
Who, me? No!
You ready to do this? Oh, I'm ready to do this.
And let me tell you, these Tuesdays, they go so fast. Oh my gosh.
Too much time on your hand, is it?
Honey, turn that clock off. I ain't paying no attention to it. Turn it off. Turn it off.
We will be right back.
I'll be right here, doing nothing.
Man, you don't want to miss this.
I'll be there.
I am back. I have my Wonder Woman bracelet on. Well, I only have one, but anyway.
Hello, Urbanites. Hello.
What's happening? It's been a minute.
Hey, what's up, cholas?
What's up?
Hello, gorgeous.
And let's dig into this because this is really important.
I'm listening.
My Urbanites, I love you. I'll see you soon.
All right, we can just continue.
All right,
And,
so yes,
that's wholly inadequate, and it's leading to a lot of inefficiencies. I've spent a pretty long career working in corporate America in New York City, but before I came here, I actually worked for 3 municipalities in South Florida. I worked for Miami-Dade County, which is like one of the largest counties in the country. I worked for the city of Miami Beach, and I worked for the city of Miami. And we had a lot of systems even then, and I'm talking about in the early 2000s, that pale into comparison to what we have going on here. And now I understand that this is a much smaller city, but I operate a community organization here. I'm operating a political campaign here. I'm using data. I'm using systems that are already set up for the use of building community and for political campaigning. And I'm able to understand people's needs, meet people, and to properly discern what's important by using data and systems. I'll give you a good example. We have our organization, the Seven Oaks Society, that I founded in 2020 with my wife. We were home. We were working from home. We had a lot of neighbors that we'd come to meet, but we all kind of have these same issues. We go to city council, we go to school board, we talk about these issues, and nothing ever gets done because they act like they've never heard it before. If you have an issue, if I have an issue, if my neighbor has an issue, we go there separately. It's like we're starting from square one over and over again. And I say that what we need to do is band together and talk in one singular voice, and we can hold them accountable by our population size. We have about 200 households in our organization, Seven Oaks Society, which is comprised of people that are not just here in the Seven Oaks neighborhood. There are people all over the city of Orange that are a part of Seven Oaks Society, and we're open to that. It's really just a name that worked really well for an acronym, SOS. But back to the point, we organize our conversations on a free system called Slack. When someone has an issue about taxation, when someone just wants to know what's the current garbage schedule, there are many people that are organized in this one place, and we can get answers right away. I think some people have asked me, if elected, will I be able to communicate and talk to people and be personable as they want? And I'm like, I'm already doing this in our organization just by using technology.
So do you think you would be able to implement some of that efficiency through the work of the city council? How do you think the city council works with the mayor and the other parts of city government to make those type of things happen?
So I think that we have a lot of people that mean very well. Our elected officials don't get into this because it's glamorous or that pays extraordinarily well. I think most people get into this because they see a problem and they want to fix it. I don't think all the members of city council really understand how to turn those levers of power. And I've tried to help a lot from the background. I've worked with just about every member of city council. I have their phone numbers, I have their emails. I'm in communication with them as much as they are willing to communicate with me. And every time I've come to city council, I don't just bring problems. I usually try to bring a solution, maybe a myriad of solutions, because that's what's important. We need to do our research. We need to We need to figure out what these problems are and tackle them together. There was one issue that came up at our last city council, 2 city council meetings ago, where there was a walk-on resolution for $7 million. And that $7 million was to help upgrade our water system. There's a new regulation that came out from the federal government about PFAS. PFAS is it's basically a water contaminant that comes from nonstick pots and all the things that are nonstick that just help everything flow in our modern world. And so we need to have a new system that can help filter that out. And the $7 million came from our utility, as far as I understand. But what I didn't see in any of that resolution were the 3 treatments that are issued by the EPA. If you go to the EPA's website and you search for PFAS, PFAS in drinking water, there's 3 ways that you can solve it. And those 3 ways come with different costs and different long-term costs for maintenance: activated carbon treatment, ion exchange treatment, and high pressure membranes. And I said, I'm not seeing any of this from utility when they're asking for a blank check for $7 million. We need to know why. They need to come here and give us a presentation. We need to know what are the options, what are the long-term maintenance. This is what I'm getting at when I'm saying that people mean well, but they're not doing the research and not asking the right questions. And this is not necessarily a knock on them. It's just what they don't know.
I think that's a good point, what he's bringing up right there.
That was very powerful.
Yes, that was very powerful, because on the one hand, he's telling you how research and just finding out about what's going on and where the money's supposed to go will let you know what's supposed to be being done for it.
Correct.
And he found out that information on his own. And when he went and checked, they're not doing anything.
But they want $7 million.
But they getting the $7 million
for doing something that will not fix the problem.
Will not fix the problem. So he already said there's inefficiencies, and we're gonna talk about this a little bit when I in a little bit when we keep going.
That was very powerful, powerful, because he went directly to the source itself.
Right. He seems very competent. He seems very competent in that capacity.
Right. And again, we don't endorse any candidate. Any candidate who would like to come into the Urban Suite to present their platform to the urbanites, definitely you can. You can get in contact with us through www.drlisalacon.com. That's drlisalacon.com. Any candidate, if you thinking about it, or if you have any other issue or whatever, let us know, definitely, because your constituents need to know what's happening. One other thing, when I talked about the increase in the Hispanic and the Latino community, I just wonder if the marketing of the candidates was bilingual as well, because you have to reach out to everyone. So if that community is growing, you have to think, what, I really need to reach out to this community. How best can I reach out to this community, and how best can I get them to vote? Because I guarantee you, although the population is, I would say 35,000, and we also know that it's not 35,000 people that will be voting, because in that age, in that number, there are people that aren't able to vote in terms of their age. So they're like 17 and under. So you take out that cohort, and then you have to take out the cohort of those, and I'm going to say it, that are illegal, who are not able to vote. You have to take out that cohort. So once you take out those 2 cohorts, I'm not really certain how many people vote. However, out of the 35,000 people registered via the Census Bureau, you would expect at least maybe 15,000 votes to come in.
In most elections, it's not that high.
I know.
It's more like 5%.
Right. And that's terrible.
It's not. Yeah,
that's terrible. And then we complain about the same outdated, infrastructure. And again, I think we're going to talk about it later, but I'm going to talk about the link between how policies really can affect your mental health condition. And it's really a shame.
Yeah, and also, I mean, it gets to, the misappropriation of funds and all that stuff gets into corruption in government and questions like that. And we actually do talk about that a little bit. But sticking to this health topic real quick, since we're here, you want to try to read this headline for us?
Sure. NBIMC earns recognition for promoting organ donation awareness.
All right. And of course, anybody that's wondering what the NBIMC is, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services awarded Newark Beth Israel Medical Center, which is NBIMC, its platinum level recognition for the hospital's efforts to increase enrollment in the New Jersey State Donor Registry and spread the life-saving message of organ and tissue donation awareness. They go on to say that the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration Workplace Partnership for Life Hospital Campaign presents the Platinum Award, its highest accolade, to hospitals across the country who successfully increase awareness of the importance of organ donation. So our local hospital here, Newark Beth Israel Medical Center.
Wow, I have to ring my bell for them.
Yeah, they got a Platinum Award.
I am so proud of that hospital because, again, they're right smack in the urban community. They're like right there in the urban community doing what they have to do. And who's the leader of that hospital? Who's in charge?
Well, we have a quote from the president and chief executive officer of Newark Beth Israel Medical Center and Children's Hospital of New Jersey, who's Mr. Darrell K. Terry Sr., who you see pictured right there. He said, Newark Beth Israel is honored to receive this recognition and committed to delivering life-saving transplants as one of the top 15 heart transplant programs in the nation and the only lung transplant program in New Jersey.
Wow. Big up to Mr. Terry once again.
Definitely. And of course, these stories that we're reading tonight are coming from the Essex Times newspaper. That's this month's edition, as you might have seen on the scroll there. So we might turn Mondays into a more local segment.
Not Monday.
or a different day. What day do you think we should do?
Friday.
You think people want to hear about local issues on a Friday?
I physically can't do Monday.
Just physically can't there because we got the show, the main show tomorrow.
There's no way I can do Monday, Tuesday. Oh no.
So we got to spread it out a little bit.
We got to spread it out.
Okay, we got to spread it out.
Absolutely. I mean, we'll see. Urbanites, you chime in.
Yeah, maybe the Urbanites will tell us what they think will be the best day to do some local news. Maybe there's a local news special good day for local news.
Well, also, and then with that said, it will be broadcast through Urban Tunes for Change on YouTube, Network. But it will be on a different channel in a sense. It'll be within my channel, within my network, but it's going to be on a different channel.
So a different day, different times, stuff like that. It could be any time, actually. Don't even have to be 7 o'clock like it is right now.
Yeah, no, right. But not after 7.
Not after 7. It might be before it. It might be before.
No, because I'll be reporting in my PJs.
All right. Well, we're gonna let Mr. Ward get back to his presentation, but I thought we might take a quick break real quick. It's just 1 minute.
Okay.
All right.
Girl, thank Google.
I Googled my symptoms.
Never do that.
And I really would love to get that out of my brain.
I've seen it. It's disgusting.
Something about Elisa. There's something about Elisa.
Oh, Lisa.
I love that. Like, dun, 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 dun. Yes. You have to be accountable for what you did.
Who, me? What?
I regret nothing. The end.
Did I do something I shouldn't have done?
It's confusing.
What?
Am I missing something?
What the hell is going on? Like, I
do not understand.
What is this woman talking about?
What you talking about, Willis?
I don't want a dissertation. I just want an apology.
I'm sorry you think you deserve an apology.
You deserve 2 flushes. Get out of here, Uncle Tina. Bye. All right, so now he's blaming the weed. This is the whole Shaggy thing. It wasn't me.
Okay, let's continue on.
All right.
As much as they are willing to communicate with me, and every time I've comes from nonstick pots and all the things that are nonstick that just help everything flow in our modern world. And so we need to have a new system that can help filter that out. And the $7 million came from our utility, as far as I understand. But what I didn't see in any of that resolution, I'm not seeing any of this from utility when they're asking for a blank check for $7 million. We need to know why. They need to come here and give us a presentation. We need to know what are the options, what are the long-term maintenance. This is what I'm getting at when I'm saying that people mean well, but they're not doing the research and not asking the right questions. And this is not necessarily a knock on them. It's just what they don't know. I'm coming at this from the perspective of a builder. Like I said, I've worked on a lot of construction projects with extremely large budgets, understanding schedules and logistics, and just doing your basic research. From when I was a designer, you have to understand, why are we doing this? What are the implications into the future?
Right. Now, what would be then your first priority as if you were elected to be a member of the city council?
I think priority number one is restoring trust. We need to restore trust in our political system, not just on the national level. We've gotten to a lot of divisiveness across our country, but at this hyper local level within our city of Orange Township, there's not a lot of trust, and you can see that implemented by we just had a tax reevaluation for property tax. And this is a process where you're supposed to be leveling out, the values so that we can get a more even taxation, which is something that we should all want. But no one really trusted that the city was working in our best interest, because the last time this happened, it was around 2008, and the city was hollowed out by people who were upside down on their mortgages, and then on top of that, the taxes were raised an exorbitant amount. And this my neighborhood, my street, when I moved here in 2018, a decade later, there was probably about 5 houses that were unoccupied on a very short street that probably has about 25 houses. It was a lot worse than that before. And we're having this generational shift in our communities. We're getting younger. People are asking for participation. People are asking to be involved, and they're being shunned. And what we need to do is restore that trust. And I say we restore the trust by opening up levels of communication, very, very simply by using technology. We need to use our technology so that we can be more effective. It's going to be that great equalizer. And we're already spending, I think, about $70,000 a year, 2 times for 2 websites that don't have any of the information that we need. We have a city website, we have a city council website. The council website is operated by the clerk's office. The records are all there, but our city website has information from 2014 on it. We look for phone numbers. Most people go to the city website when they're looking for phone numbers of officials, and none of those phone numbers work. When you go to the other website, there's a different set of phone numbers, and people are just confused. I don't know if you've ever purchased anything online. I'm sure you have.
Yes.
If there's friction, I've worked on like technology startups. There's a concept in developing software called friction, especially for online software. If you're trying to make a sale, if you're trying to get something across to someone, and there's too many steps, people fall off. And there's, when this is on a website, you can see the data of like when people fall off. There's way too many steps to do anything, and especially for something that you don't want to do. If there are too many steps to pay your bill online, that would just be so extremely frustrating. You wouldn't even want to do it, but you have to do it. So you push through. When you want to find out information from the city, or you want to get in contact with someone, and there's too many steps and you're getting frustrated along the way, it's not going to happen, and people aren't going to trust the system, and they're not going to come back. And that leads to this like negative narrative in our city.
All right. Now, speaking of participation, how do you think the participation from voters comes during some of these city council meetings? Are they able to participate through like online, or do they have to come in person still? And then how does that translate into voting during city council elections, for instance?
That's a great question. So we are still online for our council meetings, which I think is a good thing. I think whether we're doing this in person uh, or being online because of the restrictions of our pandemic, trying to keep everyone safe, we should be learning from this. Just like how we've learned how to work from home more effectively. If you work in corporate America and you're able to do that, we've learned that we can host these meetings online. We need to do that, and we need to do it in a manner that allows for public discourse to continue. They need to enable the chats, but they also need to make sure that they're locked down so that you don't get Zoom bombed, which our council meetings have been on multiple occasions. We need to use all of the systems that are available to us. When we get back into council chambers, instead of projecting it on a public access channel that only is available to Comcast customers, we need to put it out on the internet. A really good example is our school board. Our school board has an entire video production. I've seen it. Like I walked in the background. I was like, wow, this looks like a TV show. They have just one camera. It could be two. I know our council chambers have, I think, 3 cameras. But we need to use those cameras and project them online. They need to be online live. The school board meetings are projected on Facebook, and I believe they're also on YouTube. This is not hard stuff to do. Like you're doing it here.
Right. Exactly. We're doing it right now.
We're using a service. I don't know if this is free or not. This is probably the 3rd time I've used the service with different people. This is fantastic. And this is just, probably a very small team of people. We have an entire administration. We have a budget of $90 million. We can figure this out.
Right. Now, do you think that the whole budget is being used correctly? Like what portions of the budget are the most problematic, do you think?
So
like what allocations do you think are the most problematic?
To easily answer your question, I'll say no. Our budget is not being used properly. And I know this because I have right off camera 4 years worth of our CBAC books. That's the Citizens Budget Advisory Committee. My wife has been on the CBAC committee I think this year will be 3 years in a row. And we've talked to people who were there before and they've given us their notes. Again, I say, just like coming to council meetings, if I come and you come and somebody else comes, they act like they've never heard this before. And the CBAC committee is a committee that's formed during the budget process, which is coming up very soon. And then it's disbanded afterwards. And they reform it every year. And so it's like you have this collective amnesia where nobody seems to know what's happened in the past. The CBAC has recommended the same things year over year over year. We need to get a handle on doing our budget process earlier. Like we're halfway through the year and we've spent all this money already. We have a run rate of about $2 million every 2 weeks. And if you do the math, that always leads to us having an overage in our budget. Like I said, in 2020, the budget was slated to be $78 million. And by the end of the year, it was like 85, 89 million. Now, yes, we had the pandemic. There was a lot of things going on, but this has happened year over year for the last 20 years. And I have the data. We have $798,000 worth of unfilled jobs. These are jobs that they kind of have a spot for. There's a rec out for filling them, but they never fill them. And the number gets larger and larger year after year. And what happens is that this basically is a municipal slush fund. They move it around. It gets reprogrammed in different places. Again, inefficiency, and they're building in more inefficiency by doing these things.
Real quick, do you think that leads to corruption within the government? These government officials, maybe that's where some of the trust, the lack of trust comes from.
I'm not going to make any accusations about people doing wrong things, but the facts are out there. You Google Orange, New Jersey, FBI investigations, all the facts are out there. I don't need to say it. Yes, it does. Depends on who's in charge. And I think that a lot of what happened in the past, people who were in charge, really that were writing the checks, they're gone now. But a lot of people that voted for it and a lot of people that allowed it to happen are still there. Not to say that they're complicit, but we need more eyes that are paying attention to these things. And that's why I've said, and CBAC has also said this for the last 10 years or so, that the CBAC, the Citizens Budget Advisory Committee, is really a watchdog organization, and it needs to be year round. It needs to be year round so that we can keep a steady eye on our spending, so that they can help implement many of the tasks that they've said. Because year over year they ignore it. Last year they didn't even do a reconvening meeting to take in the Citizens Budget Advisory Committee presentation and then talk about making changes to the budget. They didn't even do it. And the city council members that chose to ignore this, they also appointed the people to CBAC. So it's not like this is a random group of people and they're like, ignore them. It's like, no, you picked 2 of them each, and now you're going to ignore all their comments. The people that are on CBAC, this year, I think we got 2, maybe 3 members of the Seven Oaks Society on CBAC. One is my wife. The other 2 work in finance. These are people that do this job for a living, and they're lending their time for free to our city so we can make it better. That's what we're all here for. I'm not here for ego. I'm here because when my wife and I first moved here, we were pregnant. She was pregnant. And we had, we bought, this is our first single family home that we've lived in. And, we were all ready to be like, we thought we'd achieve the American dream. When you take out a mortgage for 30 years and you understand what the costs are, you budget for that and you move on. We were expecting the birth of our daughter, our second child, and our taxes were raised, our property taxes were raised 55% in the first 3 months of us living here. And it suddenly made our home unaffordable. And that's when we really started to get energized about, hey, what's going on here? That same month, I went to my first council meeting, and again, I say, they're like, oh, that's strange. It's like, we didn't know that had happened to you. Maybe you should put in a tax appeal. And that sounds like the right answer, but hundreds of people have experienced this. Like just about half of the Seven Oaks Society members are people who have moved here in the last 5 to 10 years, and every single person has had that happen to them.
So how did that happen? Who authorized the tax increase?
It's spot assessing, and spot assessing is a term that comes from the New Jersey tax board. I forget exactly what they call it, but spot assessing is illegal. It was codified in I think it was the state Supreme Court in I believe it was 1984, and they said that you cannot assess someone on the value of how much their house has sold for, because as we know, houses always sell for more than they're listed as worth. So you can't work off of that number, especially not now. I mean, things are so inflated. You can't do that, but it happens time and time again. I have some brand new neighbors next door, and they moved in November of last year, and immediately their taxes were raised. And I knew the neighbors who lived there before them. The neighbors who lived there before them renovated that house on their own. They got all the work done. They ended up having to move for a number of reasons. They knew that their taxes were set at a certain point because they bought their house and they didn't buy a renovated house. They bought a house, I believe it was at auction, or either way, it wasn't a what's called arm's length deal. That's the technical term. And when you buy a house that's been renovated, which most of these houses, especially in this neighborhood, are, you're buying a house that's been fixed. That's been made for the 21st century, new wiring, new plumbing, so that you don't have the problems of old homes. My house is almost 100 years old, and you can't say that, oh, well, now your house is so much better than everyone else's. It's like, no, we've made our houses safe. We've had 5 fires in the last couple months in this town. I'm sure you heard about the one on Main Street. The Masonic Temple burned. We had a historic mansion on Lincoln Avenue. It's a gigantic home burned completely to the ground. One of my neighbors, his next door neighbor, had his garage burned down, and 3 garages next to it burned down. And that one, we know, was partly caused by renovation of a home that wasn't being done properly. We can solve a lot of these problems by giving the right incentives. But 2, we can't be taking away people's American dream by making your home suddenly unaffordable. We have protection.
Okay. You know what? On that note, maybe we should show what he was talking about with some of those fires. Remember we
okay, absolutely.
So let's just take a look at one of the fires that he was talking about. He said there was 5 fires recently in Orange. Okay, and for different reasons they're happening. Some people are doing improper renovations, some building codes, or some houses might be so old, 100 years old, when they're trying to do the rewiring, or maybe they didn't get to the rewiring yet. But this one was a big, actually, apartment building, though. This one here.
Also tonight, 150 residents are looking for a place to stay after a huge fire spread through an apartment complex in Orange, New Jersey. Citizen video shows flames coming from the 82-unit building. This is Park Avenue and High Street. Early this morning, the Red Cross has set up a shelter at Lincoln Avenue Elementary School to help people who just can't go back home. Police say no one was injured. The cause of the fire is being investigated.
Wow, that is incredible. And I want to share something that my church is doing, St. Matthew in Orange, St. Matthew AME. And they have a mobile shower unit arrived and was set up. So this is what they're doing at St. Matthew. The mayor came by to assist, as did the Orange Police Department. They began patrolling last night. Also, they're having at 3 o'clock, they were intaking 25 to 30 guests, including 9 children. So a lot of people have been displaced by this fire. Orange is a very interesting place because although it's small, it is riddled with so much. It's riddled with a lot of love, but also is riddled with a lot of corruption. And something that he said earlier about paying your bills, it should not be stressful to pay your bill. It's already stressful that you have to pay it, but to go through the process of having that added stress. And this is what I'm talking about, how the policies can impact your mental health. He clearly said that it's just too many steps. So this is how it can look practically. So say, for instance, I'm already stressed out as it is because I live in a I'm always hypervigilant in my neighborhood. One, because there are no lights. So what does that mean if I'm hypervigilant? If I'm hypervigilant, that means I'm always on edge. So if I'm walking down the street and there are no lights on my street, because we have stood in front of city council for years and asked, okay, are there going to be lights on my street? Every time I walk out my door to go to work or to do whatever and it's dark, what do you think I'm thinking about all the time?
Getting robbed or getting knocked over the head, like you say.
Getting robbed, maybe even raped for a woman, or, someone picking up your child in a white van. And these are things that actually happen as a result of policy. So if I don't have street lights on my street, and oftentimes in the winter at 5 o'clock, it's very dark, you're coming home from work, you're going to be on edge like, oh my goodness, is someone going to hit me over the head? Is someone going to take advantage of me? Is someone going to... These are things that constantly take place in the urban community, and it can be a direct result of the policies. So let's look at his example to paying a bill. First of all, who really enjoys paying bills? Oftentimes you're already kind of like stressed out because you have to pay these bills. But then he said that what happens is there's so many steps that you get so frustrated. So I'm heightened already. My anxiety is raising. All right. So with that, what is the possibility of you either going through it or giving up? Some people may give up. And if you give up paying your bills, what eventually will happen?
Right, you're going to get kicked out. You're going to get those utilities shut off.
Yes.
You're going to get your car repossessed, whatever.
Yes, because it's not convenient. And people don't think about this. They don't think that, 10 steps versus 2 to make everyone's life just a tad bit easier. And, I find this quite often in the urban community, that it's sort of like they do this on purpose. They inject this I don't know what it is. Like, why do they do this?
Or it could be that. It could be that. Or it could be that people don't go out to these city council meetings and make sure the proper people are put into office and they're not wasting the money on stuff that's not actually going to fix anything. So they're giving away the budget to people that's just going to be like, okay, we just got $7 million and we ain't even got to do anything. You know what I mean? And they're not going to ask us for the money. They're not going to ask us for the result either, because they don't know what's going on in this particular person that they have on the city council.
Right.
So that's why you need competent people on the city council to make sure you have street lights on a block. That might not seem like the biggest problem in the world, but it adds to it, because that's your day-to-day stress level.
Exactly.
And another thing that they mentioned too, he mentioned it as well as the candidate from last week from the North Ward, Sharif Williams. They mentioned the thing about like safe streets for schools, children, and like speed bumps and stuff like that. Because it's the same amount of stress. You're like, okay, now my son or daughter's about to get out of school, and you got all these motorcycles riding fast and cars riding fast, and ain't the number of stop signs and speed bumps to make them slow down are not there.
And then as a result of that, we know that anxiety heightens and increases blood pressure.
So health problems.
I mean, that's the domino effect to all of this. You know, if you have poor politicians, you're going to end up with poor constituents with major health problems. And, you know, it's really sad. And then, you know, you take the medications for the high blood pressure, then you end up with these side effects, and then you end up with swollen ankles, and you end up with all these things. I mean, it's just
it's a cycle now, right?
It's a cycle, and that's that generational toxicity.
Right. But again, the people are sometimes helping it themselves by not voting.
They don't.
I mean, like by not paying attention to these elections, the right person is not in office to help fix these problems. If you got a person that could be competent and attack some of the problems that you know you're going to be dealing with on a day-to-day basis, street lights, the speed bumps in the road, whether that water that you're drinking is making you sick as you're drinking it. You know what I mean?
That's another thing, the water.
So,
and then we always talk about environmental racism. Like environmental racism, but we're doing this to our own
ourselves. to ourselves. And again, like with enough people not being concerned on these so-called small elections, because that's what they might be involved in the presidential election every 4 years.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But meanwhile, there's all these city councilmen. You're electing the sheriff, the judges, the judges in your area, might be up for election. You're just going to deal with the ramifications of whoever's in office because you didn't do anything to try to pick these people.
Right. And like you said, and well, basically like he said, he goes to the city council meeting, but it's as if they didn't hear what he said or they forgot. They have selective memory. They're like, well, what's the CABC book? Well, you know what that CABC book, we've been talking about the CABC book for 10 years. You've been sitting here for 20 years and you don't know what the CABC book is?
You know what? Well, we're going to address that coming up in this last segment with him. Like, I was like, well, why is this not getting done? What's the problem with the people that's there? You know what I'm saying? So he's going to try to address it as politely as possible, I think.
Okay.
And as diplomatically as possible.
Yeah.
Because these are his neighbors.
Right.
All right. So let's see what he said.
All right.
We can't raise rent. In the state of New Jersey up a certain percentage for affordability's sake. We're doing the exact opposite to homeowners, and it's not fair.
Right. Now, before we wrap up, let's talk about the changing demographics of Orange. What do you think some of the demographic changes have been in Orange over the past couple of years?
The demographic changes is clear, especially since the pandemic. There's a lot of New Yorkers moving here. There's a lot of people with just more money than the people that already live here, and that sparked this cultural divide. Many people have accused me of being an elitist by founding an organization called the Seven Oaks Society. I did that because we were trying to park into the past that was here, We're trying to be contextual. I didn't want to do what I'd seen in the neighborhood that I moved here from in Brooklyn, what I termed a Christopher Columbus syndrome, where you move into a place and you say, oh, this is nice, and you completely ignore everything that's here and you make it your own. We need to be building bonds to what exists and how we can make it better. There's this whole thing, especially in this political campaign, about I'm from Orange and I know what's best for Orange. And it's like, sometimes that's true. But there's always a reason for learning from the outside. There's always, if you have well-meaning people that come into your community, you should be welcoming people with open arms. And if they have a good idea, like good ideas come from all over the place. If you have a good idea, it should be taken and it should be used, because we're only trying to make this community better. When I talk about making our community better, I'm not talking about Seven Oaks. I'm not talking about the South Ward. I'm talking about this entire city. There's no reason why we should have this divide between north, south, east, and west. This entire city is beautiful. This entire city was made for people that don't look like you and me. When we're talking demographics, this city was made, in the turn of the century, in the late 1800s, and this entire city is beautiful. When we talk about home sizes, I think one of the first homes I looked at was on Park Avenue in the North Ward. And I loved that house. It was beautiful. It had a giant backyard, much bigger backyard than I have here. It had a lot more problems than I wanted to deal with. Like I said, we moved while my wife was about 6 months pregnant, and we just weren't ready to do that kind of project. But I did see the character, the charm, and the beauty in that part of the community. And I think, me being an architect and seeing that, seeing the details, seeing the things that many people just take for granted because they've always seen it, I see a beautiful place, and I think this entire city can be beautiful. We have to have a plan. We have to implement it.
Okay. And so, what would be your message to the voters that you want to come out for you on Tuesday?
We've had 8 years of representation that I think was good for putting forth community initiatives, getting people kind of excited about doing various things in our neighborhoods. But what we haven't had is legislation. We haven't had tangible governmental change because I don't think that our current representative really understands how to use the levers of power. I'm sure she thinks this is like something personal. It's really not. Like, I think she's a nice person. She's actually my neighbor. If there wasn't a house in front of my house, it would be her house. She's on the other side of there. This is not personal. This is about how can we make our community a better place? How can we change the function of government so that we can be good stewards of the people's money, so that we can put those dollars to work for the people? And we need someone in that office that understands how to do that. I know how to do this because of, one, my experience in working in government as an employee, working in corporate America, and two, because of my family history. I'm coming at this from as the child of, my father is a second generation proprietor of a federal government contracting business, and my mother is a history and political science professor in South Florida, and she was also an elected official in our town. She was the council person and then mayor, and now again council person of the village of El Portel. I've learned a lot vicariously through them. I've learned a lot through my personal experiences, my resume, and I really do understand how we can make this place better. We really just have to work together to implement a plan. And whether I'm elected or not, I'm going to be trying to work with our municipality to implement all these ideas, because I just don't think they understand how much is at stake. The future of our city is at stake. The future of America is at stake. And we really need to use our local politics to be the instruments of change.
Okay. Well, again, I know it's on the screen, but just for our podcast listeners that listen on Spotify and some of the other radio stations, could you just give the website and tell people how they can get in contact with you if they have any questions?
All right. My website, I think I'm the only council candidate who has a real functioning website. James Ward 4 Orange, FOR, the number 4.
Shady.
On social media,
James,
Facebook and Instagram, it's James Ward for Orange. If you visit my website, I have links to all the other social media sites.
We gotta stop.
I know. Yeah, I'm gonna have to let him say that again, or we could just say it for him. You know, but he made a point. He made a point right there. He was making a point.
He was throwing shade. Yes.
He said, "I'm the only one with a functioning website." Yes. But look, hey, maybe there's older candidates. They don't know how to do that. They don't know how to, you know.
Well, listen. Well, that's true. But you know, I've seen a lot of candidates that don't know Zoom. So
yeah. It's like, come on, bro. Like, it's the 21st century.
Right.
Like, what are y'all doing?
Exactly. So again, I think he put that out there about the whole digital divide in terms of generational thing and them not knowing how to navigate this whole technology world and stuff like that. Ooh, Jake, that was shade. Ooh, that was
But you have to. And look, for anybody that got confused when we were saying that he was throwing shade a little bit, he was saying that the website is jameswardfororange.com, and it's JAMESWARDFOR, not the number 4, but FORORANGE.com. JamesWardForOrange.com, and that's where you can, you know, check him out. He was pretty much finished there, and so we're going to thank him for joining us over the weekend. And I think actually before we wrap things up fully, there's one more story that we want to take a look at from the Essex Times, just a little tidbit of information, because actually he touched on one aspect of it. There's still being a pandemic in some sense, but if you want to read the title right there, I'll take you through the rest of the story.
Okay, so Uber and Lyft drops mask mandate for both riders and drivers.
Right, and again, these are from the Essex Times, which you can pick up locally. It's a division of the Whitney Publishing Group that's put out by Tinsley Whitney here, local from East Orange, actually. Local publisher that puts this free newspaper. It's free. You'll see it on Dunkin' Donuts and City Hall, the libraries, all throughout Essex County. But basically, Uber and Lyft, the rideshare companies, they're easing their protocols on COVID-19. So rideshare companies Uber and Lyft made face masks optional for both passengers and drivers on April 19th, after the Transportation Security Administration said it would no longer enforce the federal transportation mask mandate. Now, they said in a statement, though, that, and they sent notice out to all their customers along with a note to their drivers that says, quote, masks are no longer required, but they're still recommended. The CDC still recommends wearing a mask if you have certain personal risk factors and/or high transmission levels in your area. Remember, many people may still feel safer wearing a mask because of personal or family health situations, so please be respectful of their preferences. That was put out by the company, Uber.
Okay, so it's up to you if you want to wear your mask.
And you got to take it on your own personal safety concerns. If you have a family member that you live with, an elderly family member that might have pre-existing conditions or something like that, you might want to consider wearing a mask when you do that. But they also changed another policy at Uber. And it says, in addition to masks, Uber said it would update its front seat policy, allowing customers to once again sit in the passenger seat next to the driver.
I'm not sitting next to no driver.
It says, however, the company asks passengers to quote, use the front seat only if you need it due to the size of your group, unquote.
Exactly. I'm not going to be a lone passenger sitting up in the front seat with the driver. No.
Like y'all going, like y'all together. What is that?
Right. I'm like, no.
And they're saying that, you know, people have different comfort levels.
Right, exactly. And that's no.
That's not comfortable for you to be up there.
No way.
Have you had to because I know you drive yourself and stuff like that, but have you ever had to take Uber and Lyft?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then I think I rode in the front if everyone's there and, like I said, full capacity, and there's no other resort, I have it in the front. But
And how did you like that? Was there any problems with that when you actually did?
I mean, it was all right because it was full capacity. But for the most part, I would not volunteer if I'm going solo to ride in the front with the Uber driver. No.
It just seems a little strange, right?
Yeah. So this was a pretty good interview. I mean, he seems very thorough. Absolutely. He seems very thorough. He definitely had his facts, his data,
right,
on point. And the thing is, how does that translate to get voters to the poll? Because one of the things that you have to realize, and I think this, politicians, there's a certain type of characteristic and personality that I believe in order to be a successful politician, you have to have. You can have all the stats, you can have all the data, you can have everything, but if you don't have that it factor, that charismatic approach, can I have a beer with this person? Can I have a glass of wine?
That's a certain way to say it. But you're also talking about, like, if that person is personable. If that person is just personable. Like, when you talk to them, because, like, when you're actually talking to somebody, you're not actually having a beer with them when you're talking to them. But when they see you on the street,
I want to?
When you see them on the street, can you talk to them, and do they seem personable, and do they seem approachable?
Right.
Do they seem like they would care about you as a constituent? That's probably what that's the underlying thing with it. Because everybody don't drink beer anyway. Like, I mean, so
I know, but you know what I'm talking about.
Right. It's just a saying.
Right.
So, but I definitely think that he has those qualifications that you said. The voters are going to have to decide whether or not they think he's personable enough to want to elect him.
Right.
But he definitely had the stats and everything together. He knew what he was talking about as far as the different details of what's going on in the city and what some of the needs that need to be fulfilled are. So
right.
He seemed very competent.
Yeah, very confident. You just have to go door to door, state your cause. And it's always your why. Why should I vote for you? And then he has to state his cause and have that personality, like you said, that's very personable. And because that personable aspect is also trust. I trust you that you won't heighten my anxiety level. Basically, at the end of the day, that is what it's about. I trust you that you're going to allow me to have some semblance of peace in my family, some semblance of peace in my household, because Orange has an 11% unemployment rate. They have high taxes. They have a $90 million budget, which is allocated through, I have no idea, like he said, some slush funds and things of that nature.
Did you say that Orange got put out to be one of the most corrupt cities?
Yes, according to the Star Ledger, is the most corrupt city in the state of New Jersey, according to the New Jersey Star Ledger.
Okay. Well, hopefully some people could get on the city council that will put that problem under control.
Now, I'm going to throw this out there because he said the demographics are changing. So people from New York are coming in. And the people from New York coming in, I don't know if they're Black or African American, but I would probably guess, depending on the area, if they're moving into his area, they could be white.
That's what I kind of thought when he said the New Yorkers and stuff. That's what I
right. The demographics, like I said, from the census in 2010 to 2020 had the white population at 13%. It did not move. So I'm curious to see within the next 5 years of the demographic shift in terms of the three main races in Orange. You have Blacks, whites, and then the Hispanic Latino population. Again, the Hispanic Latino population is definitely increasing, but I don't know how involved they are with voting, and I don't know how involved the Black candidates are with reaching out to them.
Well, has there been any development around their train stations and stuff like that? Like any new?
Absolutely.
Well,
Oh,
then those are the people coming from New York. Those are people coming from New York.
major.
Yeah. So
That's
there's
that.
going to be a different population.
Yeah, that's that. The direct line to New York.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot what it's called. The
That's not the Valley line. That's a different line, right?
Yeah, it's a different line. Midtown Direct. That's what it's called. It's the Midtown Direct.
That's like perfect. Like
it's perfect. It's literally about 15 minutes, 20 minutes, if that, in Orange, in a sense.
Yeah, that's perfect for them.
To go to Manhattan.
Right. That's you don't have to worry about traffic, don't have to be in the car. You know what I mean? It's not even going to be as expensive as the city either.
Right.
Even though it's expensive for out here, it's not going to be it's not going to be as
So yeah, I got to plug my computer in. All right.
Well, look, we about to get out of here anyway. I think we were just going to wrap things up. I think we pretty much covered everything tonight.
Yeah.
Right, for our first little politics one-off show.
So, well, actually, this is our second one.
Well, was that a special or was that the regular show?
Well, that was a regular show, but it was a politician.
Yeah. Well, this is like a special, this is a special show, though. We up here on a Monday acting like it's a Tuesday.
I know, right?
We got to do this again tomorrow night.
I know, I can't wait. Yes. Tomorrow, what do we have coming up tomorrow?
Well, we have some very interesting things, as always. And I believe we're going to get a little bit more into what some people consider the, what you call it? Like the whatever man. What did he say? What did Kevin say?
Oh, the high value man. Kevin
high
said,
value.
oh my gosh, that was, I have to say that's horrible, especially for his mom around Mother's Day. Like, I can't even.
That's another thing.
Oh,
well, we got to discuss a lot tomorrow. There's a lot of things that developed over the weekend concerning that. So we're going to talk a lot about that tomorrow.
And then also tomorrow, what we're going to do, hopefully, because our show is Tuesday, the polls close at 8:00. So we can kind of.
We might get some
what's happening?
Pre-numbers.
Yeah, and maybe report that as we get them. So
do a little bit of election coverage.
Yeah,
just to get you enthusiastic for election day.
Yes,
and this is just to get you warmed up for November. This is just a warm up. You know what I mean? For November, where people are really going to be voting. Okay.
Yeah, but this is where it counts, though. Also.
Yeah, the local level. Everybody got to. So everybody take your little time tomorrow. It takes like 5 minutes out here. It doesn't take any time. There's no line. There's never no line in these primaries and stuff like that. So I'll be in and out of there in like 5 minutes.
I bet you if you gave people $50 to vote, they'll vote.
But why you gotta pay people to put lights on their own street? That's what they need. That's what they want to do. Like you gotta pay people to get a speed bump in front of the high school or the elementary school. Like that's your kid about to get run over by a mini bike or a car or something like that. One of these. Let's not say carjack stolen cars. Let's not say that. But
but I mean, I get what you're saying. That's the reality.
Yeah. But but actually, let's just do one more thing, just to give them another reminder about the importance of what we're talking about with the pandemic, because I forgot about this. We're gonna do one more spot, and then we'll be right back with the outro, and we'll see y'all after that.
Absolutely. Okay. All right.
We're doing a free COVID-19 PCR test. No copay, no deductible, nothing.
Hi, my name is Melvina Fraser. I'm the newest hire with MedX.
Hi, I'm Neil, and I'll be the supervisor of the Lena to do the swabbing.
And what is swabbing?
Swabbing is basically it's a 2-minute process. We get your information, and we swab each nostril for 7 seconds each. To test you for COVID, there's no copay. Even if you don't have insurance, you'll still be covered. We can just send you a hard copy via email of your positive or negative results.
And because I deal with so many people on a regular basis, I get tested every week. I'm fully vaccinated, but I get tested every week to protect my family, to protect my dad, protect my loved ones. It makes sense because you can still catch COVID even though you're fully vaccinated, okay? And we might be the worst ones because sometimes we catch it and we have no symptoms. So we're just walking around spreading it around everywhere. So it's a good, you come to Blessed Ministries, you get a job, you get a free test.
All right, so in conclusion, again, we're here during this political season, and whether it's the primaries or, you know, those running for mayor, I know Irvington, New Jersey, there's a gentleman, Inman, he's running for mayor against Voss. So, you know, there's a lot happening. Newark, New Jersey, the Mayor Ross Baraka is running for mayor. I have no idea. Is anybody running against him? Do you know?
Not anybody that's gonna win.
Right.
Not anybody that's gonna win.
How much money did he spend on his campaign? Like, what, $50?
Yeah, right. So yeah, but
oh gosh.
yeah,
I'm
but
sure
this,
that's
this
a
election's
lamb,
yeah, right. Because you got at least sometimes. See, I know we talked about term limits a little bit before, but sometimes you got to give a person enough time to actually get anything done. Because sometimes, like it's like things happen. Like, say if you just became the mayor 2 years ago when COVID hit, it's like, bro, like I ain't got no chance to even do anything yet.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like sometimes you got to get a little bit of head start and keep going and keep building and build a good, strong team that can really make lasting, long, sustainable, good changes for the community.
Exactly. And
Instead
remember,
of just getting in and out.
Yes, and remember, my urbanites, the person that you appoint them either by voting or not voting.
Right.
They play a role in your mental health condition and the mental health condition of your residents and the mental health condition of your neighbors, the mental health. I mean, it's all, I'm telling you, it's sort of like a domino effect. So again, the street lights, something so simple. However, who wants to come out of their house every single night, every single morning, especially if it's dark in the morning, thinking, oh my gosh, am I going to get hit over the head? Am I going to get raped? Am I going to get assaulted in some way? Am I going to get robbed? Am I, you know, you increase the anxiety of the community members based on a lot of the policy that the legislators, you know, present, and the mayor says yes, no, veto, whatever. But again, I'm telling you, and it happens all the time, outdated equipment, outdated books, not enough good research in a sense to know, okay, where's the $7 million going? Because based on what I researched from the source, hello, this $7 million isn't doing anything to cure it. Maybe it's just putting a Band-Aid over a cancer lesion. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. Our people are tired of this. However, if the demographics change and colonizers move in or the party goers move in, this is my opinion, it will probably change.
Well, or if people pay attention to what's going on in the community, it's up to people to make things change too. Like they got to participate, and just like you said, by not participating, that's your vote.
That's your vote.
That's your vote. So you was the one that wanted it to stay exactly like it is.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
So.
Yep. All right. So I want to say thank you, my urbanites, for entering into the Urban Suite with me, Dr. Lisa LaCon, where you laugh, learn, cry, and grow. Today was our special political episode, I guess, and we're going to see if we can start doing this more often. But until next time, thank you. God bless. Stay safe. And Molly, take us away.